Welcome to the Time Freedom Summit, where we are discovering what it takes to have it all: a successful career, a family, friends, and time for yourself to live your priorities. I'm your host, Nomita Mehta, and for this summit, I am bringing you the best of the best to help you overcome the challenges of time freedom. We are in the midst of a popular obsession with mindfulness, and it's the secret to health, happiness, and success in any field of human endeavor. In a time where fewer and fewer dentists seem to have enough time to be everywhere they want to be, let's see how mindfulness coupled with organizational strategies can help you become more effective and make you more empowered to live a more enjoyable and fulfilling life. To get to the bottom of this very important life skill, mindfulness, I have invited Mr. Peter Berry, who has empowered dental professionals with his unique coaching support for extraordinary growth, high income, and exceptional quality of life. He is the founder of Practice Mastery, a practice development and executive coaching company that serves the growth and development needs of your practice. So in today's interview, cultivating mindfulness into your practice and life, Mr. Peter Berry is going to share a 21st century formula for happiness and practice success. Welcome, Mr. Berry.
Hi, Nomita. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Well, we are very happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. So before we get into the questions, I'd like to know a little bit about what is the secret of your success. Is it some kind of a mindset strategy, or is there something else that you have?
The secret to my success, I guess, and I wasn't prepared really for you to ask me this, but to be humble, is that I focus on people. I think when you focus on people and you slow down to keep things personal and engaging, and you make your priorities based on good, solid core values, I find that, good things tend to flow out of that window quite well and quite effectively. The other thing is I like to be organized. I like to be extremely organized. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love people. And I think that dentistry is an amazing field that offers a lot of wonderful opportunities for people that choose to play in it. And when you put all that together, I think it's just a formula for success. And you can have fun along the way while you do what you do.
Lovely, lovely. Yes, that is quite a secret formula. So tell us, Mr. Berry, why does today's dentist find themselves so busy and so diluted? You've met so many dentists. Tell us, what is the bottom of that problem?
Well, really, let's look at this carefully. You've got society as a whole. What percentage of society, when we think about it, really spends their time at work? I would say probably a third of our lives is spent at work. And if you really break that down further, probably half of our waking hours are actually spent in the workplace. And then if you look at society as a whole and how people experience stress, a good chunk of our time outside of work is spent feeling the effects of work, feeling distracted by work, and thinking about things or worrying about things that are related to work. So we live in a world today where such a huge chunk of our time is spent being impacted and influenced by the workplace. And as you said the other day, I found that really stimulating what you said. You said that the corporate world has figured this out, and they've already done things to begin solving this problem. They're taking steps, to prepare people for a world that's becoming busier, more stretched, and more diluted. And I think the opportunity today is for us to do the same thing in dentistry. And this is why I'm so impressed with what you're doing related to this summit, because truly, at the end of the day, when we look at dentistry as a whole, dentistry is even more stretched and even more diluted than the general mainstream corporate world. And the reason for this is because the entire landscape in which we practice dentistry today has changed completely. Now let's look at this and break this down. We've got today more clinical and more theoretical knowledge. We've got more advanced treatment modalities. So that means that for dentists, there's much more for them to learn today than there used to be in the past. Add to that, you've got technology that's evolving. So dentists are constantly having to learn about new pieces of equipment that never existed, let's say, before the month, 6 months before. Then you've got the consumers are changing. Think about that. They're more demanding. They want more convenient hours. They want shorter visits. They expect us to be more organized. They want more support through their experience. They want more information. They arrive confused, not knowing who to trust. So the old school model of simply sitting in front of somebody and telling them, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Trust me, I'm a doctor, doesn't seem to work anymore. These days, people need to be more skilled at communication, at connection, at human influence. Add to that, we've got that insurance is changing, where the scope of available services is expanding and it's vast. But when we look at insurance, it's not keeping up with coverage when it comes to these advanced treatment modalities. So even then, it requires even more that the average dentist become more skilled in things that they never really had to be skilled at in the past, in years gone by. Then you've got the workforce. Today's workforce is changing completely. The best employees that are out there, they want more than just a job. And it's up to the dentist to be able to create an environment that's more fulfilling, that's more stimulating, and that helps people to achieve their professional goals within that practice. Think about it. People want challenge. They want recognition, growth, autonomy. They want a voice. They want the freedom to exercise their strengths and their creativity without feeling micromanaged. Now, all of these things are coming together, and suddenly, when we look outside of the practice, we can see that the marketplace is changing as well, where you've got a saturated dental marketplace in urban centers in particularly, where everyone is marketing, you know, the best second opinion in town, free this, free that. I've even had dental practices tell me that patients call in asking, what will you give me if I come to your practice? And I'm thinking, what will we give you? We'll give you good care. But their thought
that's not enough. Yeah,
I know. And their thought is, well, the other office offered this, the other office offered that. So suddenly dentists now need to be more strategic in their marketing. And so let's look at the dentist. The dentist now has to work in this much more complicated environment. The number of tasks and the complexity of the tasks that are needed to thrive and survive in today's marketplace, basically in dentistry, is increasing. Today's dentist needs to be more skilled at developing their team, attracting patients, delivering quality care, feel these, keeping up with continuing education. They need to be more effective at treatment planning and record keeping. They need to somehow balance all those skills with practice development duties. And the sad thing is, they then get sucked into the daily operations of their business, where they're walking up to the front desk, move this patient 2 inches. Did you call Barbara? Did that insurance form come back? Did the lab case come in yet? And suddenly and what was I going to say here? Oh yeah, so balance all this with the other side, which is a dentist is also a human being that has human needs, happiness needs, right? That means that to really be a happy professional, your entire life needs to be in balance. That means your social activities, hobbies, your pleasures and interests, your fitness and health, your family, your spiritual, all of that is competing for space or being, in a sense, smoked out by our professional demands and distractions. And basically what I found, and sorry that this is a long answer, but I really wanted to kind of make it comprehensive. And what I found is that suddenly what dentists have is a recipe. They have a recipe for stress and frustration or for peace and fulfillment. and it's all based on the way you design your existence. And by design our existence, I mean, there's a difference. It's all about harmony. In a sense, we have to look at our lives and all of the things as dental professionals that are biting for our attention. And we need to look at them also as like a bunch of individual musical instruments. Each of those musical instruments have to add up to an overall listening or living experience, you know, in that professional. And really to do that, it is the challenge. And this is why, you know, time management and all these other things are becoming more and more important today.
I love that. I actually really like you totally stated all the demands of a dentist, and no wonder, you know, they're running around feeling busy, busy, busy. So let's find some solutions. So what must a dentist do in order to become happier and more fulfilled? You know, how does one avoid being so stretched and diluted?
Well, it comes down to this. It's one goal. We have to make happiness, right, a priority. And the key really is to decide, are you going to build your practice around your life, or are you going to build your life around your practice? And the choice that people make takes them in a completely different direction. The other day, I had someone tell me, what did he say? He said, Peter, we didn't get into dentistry to work like dogs so that we can make money and then be too busy to enjoy life. And that's what it comes down to. And what I found in my life, because I've helped hundreds, if not thousands of dental professionals across North America. And what I found is that there are three types of dentists. There are those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those that wonder what happened. There are those dentists that wake up in the morning and they are peaceful. They've got the same 24 hours that you or I do, or any other dentist does. They have a family. Maybe they have 5 kids instead of 2 kids. But for some reason, those dentists wake up peaceful. But then there are those dentists that wake up and get sucked into the vacuum, you know, of the pressure, demands, and distractions of the workday. All of the things I described before that need to be balanced. And the word I said was not balanced. I said that need to be in harmony with each other. You know, all the spiritual, the social, the business aspects, the clinical aspects, the daily operations, family, time with our kids. To put those all in control, what we need to understand, the difference between the dentists that are in control and those that aren't, basically comes down to whatever it is that you're doing, your goal has to be 4 things. And those 4 things are, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to do it with a sense of control. You have to be connected while you do what you do on a human level. You have to do it efficiently, and the goal is to gain pleasure out of what it is that we're doing, rather than just doing a robotic act. Those 4 things: control, connection, efficiency, and what's the other one? Pleasure, are all impacted by one thing. And that one thing is what this summit is about. They're all affected by time. And here's what I found. I have found that we give time way too much power. I'm a transformational trainer. When I work with people, I get to the core and I focus on helping people to navigate complexity rather than to deal with short-sighted things that may be an illusion, but they're not the core of the issue. This is the same thing when it comes to time. My attitude and my experience is that we give time way too much power. Think about it. Time we treat as some imaginary, some higher being that actually has control over us and rules us. I've even had people write to me and tell me that the schedule runs us. Oops, almost wrote ruins us. I mean, how can a schedule be in charge of a person's life? Think about it. People, when they talk about time, they make reference to things like, have you heard the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder? Which means that when you're not with someone over time, we tend to miss them more and appreciate them more. But then we've got other people that say out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opposite, right? Both of those allude to time, but neither of them is correct, right? Because it's not really the time itself, it's the person attached to the time that's having the experience. I've heard people say that time is elusive. Time waits for no one. It builds relationships. It heals all wounds. It starts all fairy tales once upon a time. Time is now. Time is finite. At the end of the day, my suggestion to our listeners is stop blaming time and take control of your day, your week, and your life. At the end of the day, it's not time itself, but it's how we choose to manage our existence, specifically how we choose to move through space and time that's really gonna determine our result. It's how you choose to design your existence within the 24-hour period that you and everyone else is given. Now, time is often, I find, used as an excuse by people. And believe me, I know, because I use it as an excuse in my own life as well, right? I'll give you an example of that. There's an office that hired an office manager. This is the office manager for heaven. She came in with a halo over her head, with angel wings, knowledgeable, great chemistry, great attitude, a great worker. She has a positive effect on group morale. She's just an amazing human being. But their start time every morning was 8:15. Sorry, 8 o'clock. But every morning she would arrive at 8:15. And at 8:15, the owner would see her arrive late. And even though he loved every other part of her, he'd be furious that she arrived late. And so he asked her, why are you doing this? I really need you to be on time. And she referred to her kids, her morning routine, traffic, it's a struggle, 8 o'clock's too early for me. So he made a big mistake. Can you guess what that mistake was? He changed her start time to 1 hour later, to 9 o'clock. So he told her, all right, fine. You can't get here at 8:15. You can now start at 9 o'clock, and then I won't have to be angry that you're coming in late. She came in on time for about a week. Starting about the second week, she started coming in at 9:15 with the same excuse. And this is where I say we give time too much power. It wasn't the time itself, it's how she chose to manage herself within her day that really had the impact. And this is where I think it's really important now for dentists to understand it's not about time management anymore. It's about two other things. It's about energy management. It's how you manage your energy. And energy management really comes down to how you manage your attention. Attention management is the key to time management as we flow through the day.
Lovely. Okay. So tell us how would one go about developing these skills of mindfulness? And I'm assuming the managing your attention and managing your energy are part of being mindful.
Right. And so in order to become more effective with your time, you've got to be able to manage first and foremost your energy, which is driven by managing your attention. And really, this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness is something that many people aren't necessarily fully aware of in the modern world, let's say, but it's something that's been around for thousands of years. I know that Time magazine wrote a significant article about 6 years ago, right? A flagship article on mindfulness. And they just redid a special edition magazine all about mindfulness. The whole magazine from front to back was about the concept itself. And what they wrote in there is that we're in the midst of a popular obsession with this concept as a secret to health, happiness, really, and success in any field of human endeavor. And what we have to understand is that the reason mindfulness is important is because what's happening today is technology is expanding. And it's made it easier for us to fracture our attention. Think about that. into smaller and smaller bits, where we're answering a colleague's questions, you know, from the stands, let's say at a child's soccer game, right? Or we're paying bills while we're watching TV, or we order groceries while we're stuck in traffic, or in the workplace, we're seeing two patients at once, or we're serving someone at the front desk while two patients are on hold, while you take a bite of your lunch, you know, between answering someone quickly on a text message. So think about what this does to people's minds. People think that multitasking is making them more efficient, but in fact, what we're realizing more and more, and there's many books written on this, is that the new multitasking is actually single tasking with a multitasking mindset. And today, what's going to be important is that in a time where no one seems to have enough time for anything, what's happening is that our devices are allowing us to be in many places at once, but at the cost really of being unable to inhabit fully the place where we need to be most. And that is here in the present, tuned in, emotionally and mentally engaged with what we're doing and who we're doing it with. And what I find for dentists and for people in general is that too many of us are overscheduled, overconnected, and overstimulated by all the noise, interruptions, and basically complexity of running an office and of living in society as a whole. And this is where it's important for us to decide for ourselves in our practice, do I want to go to work with a fragmented mind? And this is something that may sound like rah-rah, hoopla, kumbaya to, you know, to the average intellectual mind. But I would suggest to you that having an empty mind is as important, you know, as the knowledge that we hold in our minds. Because when we have an empty mind and we're engaged in something, we're able to focus more on it. We're able to do it more effectively. We're able to do it more enjoyably, and we're able to have more influence over the people that we're doing it with. Think about this in a dental practice. You can schedule more mindfully. I've seen people at the front desk do a quick, yeah, okay, I'll put you in at 2 o'clock. It's obvious the patient's not committed to their reservation. They leave and they don't show up. What are you doing then? You've got an opening and you're chasing that human being, and it's increasing the number of tasks it takes for us to run our business. You can greet a new patient more mindfully. I've seen new patients greeted in a very engaged, personal, attentive way. When you start a new patient experience more attentively, the patient becomes more committed, more interested in themselves. They develop more trust towards us as their clinician or therapist, and they tend to be more committed to the relationship and to their part of the relationship.
So, Mr. Berry, I've got to, but I want to get to the bottom of how can you walk into that exam room with a mindful attitude, or, you know, how can that front desk person function mindfully? Is it, you know, taking 3 deep breaths and starting their work, or are there any other quick strategies that, you know, the office, the dentist and the team can start their day with so they have a mindful day? You know, what is that secret sauce?
So I'm going to give us some strategies here.
Yeah.
I'm going to break it down into 2. The first one is a mental strategy, and the second one is how we strategically design our schedule with a more engaged consciousness.
Lovely.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's start mentally. It comes down to one thing. Your mind is a muscle. It's a muscle that needs to be strengthened in the direction of your thoughts. There's a saying, energy flows where attention goes. In other words, what we focus on grows. And the way to become a more mindful person within your practice is to practice the art of meditation. Now and meditation is simply this. Meditation is taking your mind and maybe, let's say, 5 times a week, it doesn't take long, for 10 minutes a day, you're sitting in a quiet place and you're practicing one thing, and that is the art of stillness. It's taking your thoughts and releasing them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a thought comes into your mind, it's not fighting that thought, it's just letting it go and releasing it. As another thought comes into your mind, maybe about the kids at school or something that's going on at work, suddenly you realize you're 1 minute into that thought. Releasing that thought, coming back to the present, and developing the skill of being empty. I have to tell you, when I talk to people about this skill, at first, the intellectual side of the dental mind tends to not really recognize the value of being empty. Dentists tend to value, filling their heads with new knowledge and with new learning more than being empty. But if you really stop for a moment and really look at the opportunity, when a dentist takes all that busyness, all that distraction that's going on from a week, and just sits down for 10 minutes a day at a special time each day in a quiet place, cell phones off, no email, no internet, no telephone, and sits down and just stares off into space and empties their mind. Thoughts come in, let them go. More thoughts come in, let them go. Eventually what will happen, and it usually takes about a month, is they will find themselves more skillfully able to sit and be more fully engaged in the moment with what they're doing and who they're doing it with. As they develop that skill, part 2, I think, needs to come in. And part 2 is really about strategically designing the way you schedule your life-work harmony. So in this, I want to talk to our viewers about a few things. So let's start with number 1. How you design your work week. Remember, we talked about how you move through space and time more than time itself. It's the issue. How you design your work week is extremely important. If someone wants to go to the gym, the biggest excuse for not being able to go to the gym is simply, and I've seen this, is I don't have enough time. I was in a gym, I remember when I got married in Barbados on our honeymoon, and I saw something that the person that was running the gym, the personal trainer, wrote on the wall. And she said, you will never have enough time to go to the gym, ever, because your day will always be too busy for the gym unless you take the gym and you move it up your priority list. And dentists today need to decide what's important to them in their lives. And they need to build their lives around those things. So in other words, if you're going to go to the gym, schedule it into your day. If you want more family time, schedule your family time. If you want to spend time with your kids, your spouse, social, hobbies. Here's a big one, eating. If nutrition is important to you, schedule it into your day. All right, number 2, bulking your activities, right? Sorry, bulking your non-clinical activities. Let me explain these. Every dentist has their clinical activities. That's their unique ability. They're in a practice, they're a dentist, they're there to practice dentistry. But as we know, as a dentist, there's also other things that you're going to need to be able to do during the day. You need to check your emails. Sometimes you need to respond to a text. You need to communicate with your team. There might be phone calls. There might be charts that you need to fill out. You might need to deal with accounting, whatever it is, tax planning, project management. So how dentists normally do this is they fill a tooth, they run to their office, they make a phone call. They don't reach the person. They send a text. They check an email. The dental assistant pulls them into the next room. They go into that room. They start a new patient exam. They leave while x-rays are being done. They go and make another phone call. Imagine what this does to someone's mind. It completely fragments them into 1 million pieces. What I've learned is that there's something called, as I said, bulking your non-clinical activities, which means the best time to make a phone call is right after you've made a phone call, because you're at the phone, you're there. If you have 3 phone calls to make them at that time. The best time to send an email is when you're in your email, responding to an email, then responding to the next one, then responding to the next one. It will happen much more quickly than walking away from your email, going to your text, running to an op, going back to the phone, going back to the email. it's almost chaos. It's so obvious when we talk about it, but we get sucked into it when we live our lives.
But let me ask you practically, if between patients, I've got 5 minutes, are you suggesting that we are probably better off just having a quiet 5 minutes rather than starting the email, which you're not going to be able to finish in 5 minutes, or a phone call?
Not necessarily, because I'll tell you what I find is that when we're dealing with the issue of time, most dentists don't have 5 minutes between patients. In fact, most of the time they're running behind. So what I recommend to people is, this is where, if you add up all the non-clinical tasks a dentist performs in a day, let's say it's 30 minutes. What I have my clients do is they schedule admin time into their day. That means every day between, let's say, 12 and 12:30, it could be during their lunch hour, they are scheduled to do the things that they need to do outside of their clinical routines. That could be treatment planning, charts, looking at x-rays, discussing things with team members, returning phone calls. Now, here's how it works at the front desk. Someone calls the front desk and says, "Hi, I'd like to speak with Dr. Smith." Well, Dr. Smith is with a patient right now. He returns all his phone calls between 12 and 12:30 today. Where will you be today between 12 and 12:30? And he can call you back. "I'm not available today between 12 and 12:30. Okay, where will you be tomorrow between 12 and 12:30? And Dr. Smith will call you back." You see, this, some dentists may think won't work, but it works really effectively when you commit to that time, because then everyone that calls you, your family, sales reps, your team, all the things that are your spouse, your kids, whoever it is that may want your attention knows that they can have it during that time. So this way, when you're practicing dentistry, you're actually practicing dentistry. Now, I want to give you some other ones, okay? So we've got design your work week. That means schedule your priorities first. If going to the gym is important, if eating is important, schedule it. The second one is your non-clinical activities. Schedule them into bulk activity at a certain point each day, called admin time. The third one is bulk your clinical activities. Now, let me explain this one. Dentists put themselves into a challenging situation where often they will do a new patient exam, then they have to do a difficult extraction, and then they have to pull a tooth, and then they have to do a consult, a post-op, a this and that. They're all over the place. And what I find is this is so difficult for dentists to go from one window to the next. And a lot of dentists are starting to do what the medical profession has been doing for years. When I broke my thumb, I remember calling in for my post-op, and they wanted to see me on a Wednesday. I wasn't available on a Wednesday, and I pleaded with them, "Can you see me on a Monday?" And they explained to me that the doctor is in surgery on Mondays, and he's simply not available. He does his post-ops on Wednesdays. He sees new clients on Tuesdays for consults, and they're booked that way. Well, if medical can do it, why can't we do it in dentistry? When's the best time to do a root canal? Right after you've done a root canal. When's the best time to do a new patient exam? Right after you've done one. Why? Because you're mentally and emotionally in the groove for that activity itself. Next, this I think our viewers will really enjoy. Mental focus activity management is what I call it. Mental focus activity management. And what that is that basically we have to look at how we manage our tasks with our calendar events, with our mind that I was talking about, mindfulness. And the way to do that is when something comes, on an average week, a dentist may have 500 tasks that they need to do. The whole idea is to be more effective with those tasks and to walk around with an empty mind, fully present and in the moment. The way to do that is when a task comes up or something that we need to do, the first thing you do is decide, do I want to do it now? Because if I have to do it later, I have to think about it again. So if you're not going to do it now, Step two is, can I delegate it? If you're not going to delegate it, step three is you have to decide, am I willing to drop this? Is it a wasted task? And step four, if I'm not going to do that, then I need to defer it into one of two places. And those are either on a to-do list or into a scheduled calendar event. But whichever one I choose, it comes out of my mind and into a to-do list or a calendar event. One more time, do it now. If you can't, delegate it. If you're not going to delegate it, choose whether you should be dropping it or doing it. If you're not going to drop it, then you're deferring it. How do you defer it? You defer it into a task sheet or on your iPhone or whatever, or into a calendar event. Every morning when a dentist wakes up, they should then open their task list, look at the random tasks that are listed that may not have a date attached to them, look at your calendar event, decide what you're going to do that day, and then go into your day. And a lot of those things will actually get done during their admin time. Now, a couple of more things.
Mr. Berry, I have to tell you, we have about 4 minutes, and I still want to do a recap of our of today's talk. So,
can I tell you one big one? This is huge.
Sure.
Here it is. Electronics. The worst thing that people can do is try to schedule their calendars with other people over the internet, especially if it's 3 people trying to book an appointment. This is simple, and I've experienced this many times in my life. I had a company of 15 sales reps send out an email, when can we meet? They chose a date, but one wasn't available. They chose a date, someone else wasn't available. Finally, what we did is we scheduled a 15-minute conference call. Everyone got on the line together, and we booked our 2-hour meeting. It happened more quickly. Everyone got more engaged. And what I suggest is it's better. Sometimes dialogues can happen more quickly in a verbal exchange than having 20 open email conversations that don't have an ending to them. There we go.
Very true. Very true. So one final question that I ask all my experts is, what is the one thing that you do to make time for yourself?
I practice what I preach. I actually meditate. I'm going to be honest. I'm not great at it, but I do it 10 minutes a day. I have what I call buzz brain. There's a lot of noise in there, but it makes me aware. And I find that awareness allows me, when I'm public speaking or when I'm working with my clients, it allows me to be fully present and in the moment, in their lives, in their story, because I feel that my job is to help the people that I serve to feel that they're my only clients. So when I'm with someone, whatever it is that I'm doing, I really enjoy being able to be fully present, engaged, and focused with heart and soul in that moment. And I think that the more our professional colleagues in dentistries, embrace these philosophies, the more pleasure and enjoyment they can get from their chosen fields as well.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. So a quick summary of today. It was just amazing the way you explained the full picture. I really thank you. In fact, I think we'll have to listen to it once more and almost take some notes to kind of, organize it in our minds, but we can do that. So here are the key points that I highlighted. I loved how you talked about the changing landscape of dentistry. We are no longer the dentists that, were perceived just a few years back, and how everything in the office, outside the office, with the patients, with the dentist, the demands are changing. And so we
more complicated.
Yeah, and so we have to kind of build in strategies to cope with that and to actually manage yourself well. And so that led into mindfulness as being one of the key strategies, and it's a skill that can be developed. We're not all born that way, but it's possible to develop that muscle, like you said.
And
So
not blaming time.
not blaming time.
It's how
Yeah.
we move through space and time and manage our existence in it and make our priorities and how we bulk our activities that will really make the difference.
Yes. So again, mindfulness is essentially managing our energy and our attention. And if we can do that well, then time will not be a problem in our life. So I love that. And then really you talked about the techniques, and I think you divided them into two key things. One was meditation, to help with strengthening that muscle for mindfulness. The art of stillness, meditation, lovely. That, I mean, I do that too, and there is it's just magical how that becomes part of your life. And I actually am surprised at my own activities. I can't believe I have reacted so differently than what I would have, So
Wow. It has
that's
a powerful impact.
yes. And the second thing you said is strategically designing your work and life to be in harmony. And then, you broke those down into quite a few specific steps. I love that. So with that, Mr. Berry, I'd like you to tell us what kind of a free gift you have for our audience today.
It would be my pleasure for anyone of our listeners, if you have a desire in your heart or a fire in your belly for something new, better, or different in your life, something that you want to implement and take to the next level or improve or enhance in your life, it would be my pleasure to provide you with a complimentary discovery consultation. It's a 1-hour process where we can sit down over the phone and have a face-to-face chat. It's really phone to phone, and we can explore your circumstances, your opportunities, and your desires for growth and development. And I'm happy to share with you my wisdom, my insights, and my experience related to your goals.
That would be wonderful. Thank you for that. Yes. So,
It's my pleasure.
yeah. So, friends, you've been listening to Mr. Peter Berry and Nomita Mehta, host of the Time Freedom Summit. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. And be sure to look in your inbox for tomorrow's interviews. Thank you again, and make it a worth it day. Thank you, Mr. Berry.